Alright, what's up people, Jordan here. Today I thought I would do a tutorial on something really I really like to do, which is designing GTA San Andreas lines. So I'm going to teach you how to make like a drift line for GTA San Andreas and see what we can come up with. We're going to be focusing again just like on drifting lines, but I might maybe show you some of the cool stuff you can do. But you're going to need some preliminary files, which I want to just quickly get up here. So the first thing you're going to need is Cfg Studio. Okay, so if you don't have a PC, this will be very difficult. I know there's a lot of Android players nowadays who play GTA San Andreas, but you're going to need a you're going to need a PC for this, idealistically. So go to GTA San Andreas and download Cfg Studio. This is an amazing thing. This is what it looks like. Okay. And when you open up your handling config, it will show you it in this nice, neat table. So it's not a hassle. Also, if you ever need to get your handling default lines, you can just copy and paste this entire thing into your handling.cfg file, which is in your data, and then you can restore it to default. Today we're going to be messing around with the Sultan, so I'm just going to grab the default line for the Sultan. I'm going to go find my Sultan here. Just going to paste it over like that, so that when I join into the game, we can just get started straight away. I'm going to be using the stock vehicle for the Sultan, so you don't need to have a custom vehicle or anything. And yeah, we're going to try and get some pretty realistic handling and also nice drift handling for our vehicles today. So I'm just going to open up GTA. Close this out. Let's see what we can do. But yeah, make sure you have a Cfg Studio. Open up your... Actually closed it on accident. Open up your handling.cfg file, wherever it's stored, and then open up your game. Yeah, we go from there. I'm just going to put it into windowed mode. Whilst it's trying to join the server, I would like to show you guys something. If I go down to here, has it let me in yet? No. GTA San Andreas, Clio. So there's this, you guys may have like mod loader. Oh, is it gonna let me in? Yeah, I'm in now. Okay. Yeah, you guys might have mod loader or something like that. You're gonna need mod loader to reload the handling file over and over and over again. But if you don't have mod loader, you can also use something called handlingreload.cs, which I'll try to link in the description, which is made by a really cool guy. I can't remember his name, but he's amazing at scripting things, basically. Some other useful things to have if you're designing handling lines is like a rev counter, but that's about it. So a rev counter basically is that's what an ENG. It's just my speedometer on the right hand side, so I can see how fast the car is going. That's always nice to have. So, okay, let's say you have everything prepared. Now all you have to do is press Control F and find your Sultan, like so. Bro, can you sit in my car? It's recording something. Maybe later. All right, we're gonna go into a different world, and we're going to just do that with the chat. If I get a private message, I guess I'll all right, test my lines on Los Venturas Airport. Makes my life a lot easier. Yeah, let's spawn the Sultan and see how it handles just as default. So we're gonna go for a drift line. And by the way, I make my lines at 30 frames per second. If you're wondering why would you ever want to make your lines at 30 frames per second? The main reason is because the cars behave as they were intended to behave in the stock game in single player at 30 frames per second. So that's the main reason I do that. Yeah, you can just sort of have a look at how the Sultan just behaves on its own with no modifications whatsoever. Can't really drift it because it's four-wheel drive. Yeah, I will eventually teach you guys how to make four-wheel drive lines, so you can do some really cool, crazy rally kind of drifting, which is really fun. Where to start? So in your handling.cfg folder, or your handling.cfg editor, you're going to have a bunch of things that look really, really complicated, but in truth is actually quite simple. The main thing we're going to be focusing on today is grip, grip loss, and grip bias, speed limit, acceleration, and possibly inertia, but speed limit, acceleration, drive, and steer limit. So basically, this one, these ones, maybe this one, sorry, but mostly these ones, and finally, grip loss, grip bias, and grip. Because these are the things that basically will make your car very drifty. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how the values affect the way the car drives. So let's change the grip to 1.5, press enter, save, go into our game, and reload the game, and spawn the Sultan in. So we've made the grip 1.5, and you're going to basically see now that all of a sudden the car is very good at turning, as you can sort of clearly see. Okay, so what does grip bias do? Oh, sorry, what does grip do overall? It's actually called the traction multiplier. So what does the grip multiplier do? This value right here. What it does is it makes the car turn faster or slower. So let's make it 0.5. And you're going to see a dramatic difference in how the Sultan moves. As you can see now, it turns very slowly. Okay. So let's make it whatever it was before, which I think it was like 8. So that's what the grip does. What does the grip loss do? Let's make the grip loss 1.5. We'll find out. So what grip loss does is it reduces the amount of grip your car will lose. Basically, it tells you how much grip your car will have when it's drifting. In this case, the car has an incredible amount of grip during drifting or power sliding. So it will not drift at all. Of course, if we make this value 0.5, which is pretty low, now the car all of a sudden will be able to slide. It may not be very good at sliding, but it will be able to slide nonetheless, as you can see. So what's the difference between grip loss, which is the one we just changed, and grip multiplier? Grip multiplier makes you turn faster or slower. Grip loss changes the amount of grip you lose during drifting. Okay, during when the car loses grip. So let's change this back to 8. So if you're wondering what would be considered normal values for a vehicle, what I found is that grip at 0.725 and grip loss at 6.5 is the amount of grip you would have if you was driving a road car. Let's say you just hopped in your mum's Ford Focus, right? You know, you want to go to the shop and buy some sweets or something. Her tires will have about 0.75 in how quickly the car can turn, and 0.65 in how much grip the car loses during loss or drifting. And I found that these values work universally well. And as you increase the the grip multiplier or grip, you can basically go from, let's say you're playing Gran Turismo, comfort hard to comfort medium to comfort soft to sports hard, sports medium, sports soft, racing hard, sorry, racing hard, racing medium, and racing soft. And anything above racing soft would be like super soft and all that kind of stuff. So that's essentially how I've come to figure out what the values will be in real life. So I recommend that if you want to make a drift car, use road tires, use 0.75. And you will never really have to change the grip loss, because the amount of grip or traction you will lose will be similar across different tires for the most part. And the grip will calculate that for you. So I recommend setting it to 0.725, 0.65, and I'll put all the encoded values so that you know what tires you can put on your car. So right now we're in, as it would be in Gran Turismo, comfort hard tires. I think in Forza, what's it called? Forza Horizon, this would be just stock tires basically. And as you can see, I mean, it's already sliding quite well for a car that's rear-wheel drive. With nitro, I suppose. Okay. So what do we do next? There's one thing that you should always do when you are editing a line, which is make your drag less than 2 or less. 2 would be like what you would have in real life. Anything less than 2 would be if your car was more aerodynamic. I really recommend making this 2. If it's higher than 2, it's going to make your life a lot easier. You may not notice it straight away, but trust me, it's important to do that. But anyway, let's ignore this for now. This is just something that I recommend you guys do. Let's go over to grip bias. Grip bias is something I'm going to show you how it works because it is interesting. I'm going to make the grip bias more toward the front tires. So can you guess what that would do? Essentially what it's going to do is it's going to make the front tires more grippier than the rear tires. So my sometimes the car will despawn randomly. So you have to... Okay. So yeah, my front tires will now have more grip than my rear tires. So now what that will mean is because the front tires are grippier than the rear tires will spin out more and the front tires will steer in more. This is pretty good because what it means is I can do this. Hopefully you can sort of see the difference there. If I use some nitro, it would be much more easier to tell. Can you see the difference? It's subtle, but it's there, and I can make it more emphasized so that you can sort of really sort of see just how much of a difference it can make. So let's give the front tires more grip and the rear tires less grip by changing this to 0.55. And now you're going to really see just how profound it can change the way the car behaves. Now the rear tires are going to skid out a lot and the front tires are going to steer in a lot. Which will mean that if I bring in some nitro for that, pretty cool, right? Actually have a something similar to a car that can actually drift forward drive. Very cool, very cool. Of course, we're not going to be making a forward drive line today, but it's good to know that you can do this. So let's make it completely balanced. So our rear tires and front tires have equal grip by saying it's 0.5. Okay, perfect. So let's move on to this was the transmission section. So this number, this number, this number, this number, this number, this number. This is all transmission. to the game. And the main number we're going to be, the main things we're going to be worried about today, or focusing on today, is changing the speed limit. That's actually it. That's the main focus of today. You can make the acceleration more, and we're going to do that later. But for now, I just want you to make the speed limit 200 miles per hour, which is 320 kilometers per hour. So let's go in the game and see if our car can now reach that speed. But just to demonstrate how fast the car can go right now, I want to show you. Right now, our car can go, could be 181 or something like that, 186 there. So you may be thinking to yourself, hold on, that's not 200 like it's here. Yes, the reason why is because you have to go over to this weird thing here called handling flags. You double click that and then you click use max speed limit. Okay, so just double click and use max speed limit, use max SP limit. That's going to make the game realize that, oh, I'm meant to accelerate this car to the value that it's set in the handling.cfg file. So now if we accelerate the car, you will see that it will reach 200 kilometers per hour. See? Perfect. Okay, so that's cool. But let's make the car go 320. And I recommend you change it to this as well. Now, this is where GTA San Andreas becomes a little weird and demonstrates that it's a little bit flawed. In GTA San Andreas, when you change the speed the car can reach to 300 to quite a high value, like 320 kilometers per hour, what it effectively does is it gives the car more horsepower. When it shouldn't, because all we're really doing is changing how fast the car, or how fast the car can reach, the top speed of the car. We're not actually changing the car's overall horsepower. So it shouldn't alter the horsepower of the car, but it does. Which is why I always suggest that before you make any changes to the overall acceleration of the car, which is right here. So this is 280 horsepower, and you times it by 10 to get the horsepower variation. Just times it by 10. So this has 280. Before you change the actual horsepower of the car, I recommend you make the speed limit just higher. And this is about 200 miles per hour right here. Okay, so I suggest this number. And this will avoid you giving the car too much power without first altering the speed limit. Which can make the car feel really weird. So now that the speed limit is really high, we're not going to mess with the acceleration. The car has more than enough power to drift already. We're just going to go over to the drive. So right now, this car is 4-wheel drive. We can make it front-wheel drive. So, show you. Now the car is front-wheel drive, as you can clearly see. If I try and drift, it's just not going to work. And let's make the car rear-wheel drive. Imagine a Sultan rear-wheel drive. This is why I chose the Sultan in a sense, because I wanted to show you, how to change these sorts of things. So now you can see the car is very drifty, and all we've done is we've made the grip lower. We've increased the overall power of the car, and it drifts really well. Or I would say it drifts well. It might be more difficult for you if you're not used to drifting cars in this game. And that's where the freedom to sort of, experiment with how you want your car to behave comes in. Let's go and drift over here. Oh, I missed. So yeah, the car is drifting really well already. And if this is like perfect for you, if you like how the car feels already, then you can stop right here and you can say, you know what, I already have what I'm looking for. But if you're like me and you want something a little bit more extreme and more interesting, then that's what we're going to be doing. Just enjoying this right now. And one Just one. Yeah, okay, perfect. So you may be thinking, okay, you know, the car drifts really well. What more could be done? Well, there are a lot of things that we can sort of do to really make the car feel better, basically, I suppose. But it's all personal preference. Right now, I'd say this car handles really well. But there are some quality of life changes that can be made. Number one, you can make the car have more steering limit. I'm just going to make this 90 degrees so you can just sort of see what I'm talking about. Who's messaging me now? I don't know. Yeah, so we've made the steer limit 90 degrees. So let's see what that looks like. And it should look exactly what you think. Yeah, it's literally 90 degrees. So what does it drift like, you may be wondering? Well, it's gonna be pretty weird, actually. Are you ready? Oh my gosh, that's insane. As you can see, you can just recover from any level of angle. Oh. Okay, there we go. In fact, I can get so much angle with this car that, oh my gosh, that's so annoying. Yeah, I can get so much angle with this that I could probably just use nitro, and it's really nitro basically doubles the amount of power your car has. If you was curious, so you can see how much angle I'm getting. Just, yeah, totally insane. So you know, if you wanted a car to have 99 degrees steer lock, that's how you like to roll. You know, you want max angle. Then you go for it. But obviously, this car definitely does not need 90 degrees stimulate. Maybe you could benefit from having 35, but 90 degrees is just a little bit too much, I think. So yeah, giving a car more steer limit can make the car a lot more fun to drive, because you can angle it more. You give it more angle. So 35 degrees is because it measures it in degrees. It's totally fine. Another thing that you might notice with the cars in GTA San Andreas is that when you accelerate them, hopefully this doesn't despawn me. When you accelerate them and then you let go of acceleration, the car slows down really, really fast. It has a lot of engine braking, I guess you could say. You can completely get rid of this by simply going here and timesing the mass by 10. In the game, in GTA San Andreas, it basically measures the kilograms of the car. So this would be 1,400 is, well, I would say it's 1,400 kilograms. So now the car weighs 14,000 kilograms. But weirdly, in GTA San Andreas, it actually makes the car behave more normally as a road car would. Because as you know, if you drive a real car, if you let go of the pedal, the car will roll like this. And if you accelerate and you don't press the brake, your car will just keep rolling and rolling and rolling until it eventually crashes, and it will slow down gradually as well, of course. Yeah, so that's a really nice thing you can do just to make your car feel a little bit more realistic. It also fixes an issue when you're turning the car loses speed, and depending on the car, it can lose quite a lot of speed as well. So it fixes that, so you can turn corners really, you can turn corners a lot faster, I suppose you could say. Let's move on to some other quality of life values that you can adjust to make your car behave more to your preference. I'm going to avoid braking for now. So here is your drag, your mass. Mass is a very experimental value to mess around with. I'm going to make it 0.5 and I'm going to show you what it does. Right now, half of 14.7. Half of the total mass of the car. So the total mass of the car is 14,000, right? So half of that is 7,000. So and then you have to half 7 again. I know you probably don't like math, you have to half 7 again. Half of 70, I think, is half of 7 35? Yes, I think it's 35. So 3,500 kilos have just been put on the front of the car. It's going to completely change how the car behaves. And the reason why is because we put this value to 0.5. Okay. As you can see, as soon as I start drifting the car, because the front tires have so much grip now, because they're basically glued to the floor, and the back tires are hardly touching the floor, the car will quickly gain angle and spin out, or it will be impossible to, break the counter steer, or it'll be very difficult to break the counter steer. Okay. So that's just how you can change the center of mass of the car. So it's 0.1 right now, so it's got whatever. If you half it, you have to half it first, and then you can calculate 1% of 7,000, which is divided by 100. So minus 2 zeros is 70, or 7. I think it's 70. Yeah. So right now it's got, what else is that, right? I don't think it's 70. Well, anyway, we're not here for math, okay? We're here for lines. We're here for drift lines, okay? So let's just not talk about how bad my math is right now. But hopefully you get the idea. This works in percentage, so 0.1 is 10. 10%. No, that's the mistake I was making. This is 10%. 1% would be this. This is 10%, so that's about 700 kilograms right now is to the front, and about 700 kilograms is this mass is up and down, so you can give it a higher center of mass by giving it a positive value. So let's put 1/4 of the car's weight above it, and you're going to see that now all of a sudden the car has a tendency to has a lot of what you call it body roll. Has a lot of body roll now. It can roll over. That's because the center of mass is really high, like a truck or something. You make it lower, make it 0.5. It will basically glue the car to the ground. The car will behave completely differently. It behaves almost strange. There's an incredible amount of its center of mass is touching the floor. So yeah, it can behave really strange, but you can play around with that yourself. Right, let's move on to some other quality of life numbers that we can mess around with. I think the most fun thing to change around is how the suspension works. So I'm going to change the upper limit to 60, and I'll explain what that does. Just pay attention to how the car, what do you say? Oh, I'm actually going to do this here. Get back to its default value. Reload the car back in here. So I'm just trying to demonstrate something. Okay, pay attention to how the car rolls when it drives. Right now, you can definitely sort of see a little bit of body roll. Okay. But let's increase the upper limit. The upper limit will change how much the car suspension is able to move. So if the upper limit is a lot, then the car will have a lot of wiggle room in its suspension. The tires will be able to go really high into the body and really low. And hopefully you can sort of tell, but the body roll is a little bit more pronounced, and the way the suspension moves is more freely. This will mean a few things. Number one, it will mean that because the car now has body roll, it will lose acceleration during drifting, because some of the I guess in a physics sense, some of the work or the energy that's being put into the car via the tires is being lost through weight transfer. So So this actually does, in this game, make cars lose power or speed during drifting, which inadvertently makes drifting easier because it's harder to oversteer. So it's a very interesting mechanic, and I always recommend making your upper limit reasonably high, and I found 0.6 to be a perfect number. When you change your upper limit, it will also change the way the car handles going up ramps and landing when it comes off those ramps. And I'm gonna try and maybe demonstrate this. Pay attention to how the car behaves when it comes up a ramp. You can sort of see that it scrapes the floor a lot. Even though all 4 wheels touch the ground perfectly, it will still scrape the floor. But this could be sort of altered or changed by adjusting the dampers. When the dampers are too high, it can make the car, upon landing on the ground, feel weird. Make the dampers lower, makes the car more bouncier, more realistic. As you can see, the car bounces when it spawns, so it makes the suspension behave as it should behave, essentially, if the car was driving in real life. So I guess the car does scrape the ground more, but it scrapes the ground more realistically. It's sort of what you would expect going up a ramp like that. So you'll see more realistic reactions from the car, you know, when acceleration is applied and all that kind of stuff, as you can sort of see right now. Yeah. So you can get more realistic behavior from your car by lowering the dampers. And of course, you can make your car very loose by making the springs, the spring force, how stiff the springs are. By altering this, you can make your car very well, I guess would be the right word. I wonder if I can make the car camber once again. There's some interesting values you can adjust to make the car gain camber when it's sort of slapped like this, but this may not work. Oh no, it did kind of work, but not really. Okay, well, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, making your springs really soft will make the car, you know, slam to the floor and whatever. If you make your springs quite hard, you can achieve the opposite effect. So now the car is really bouncy. It's got very stiff springs. So going up ramps, it'll be very, you know, bouncy like that. This is how you could expect a car to behave in real life, if you ask me. I'm gonna just change the model flag so the wheels don't. I think it's this one actually. Seem to remember. So yeah, the car is behaving sort of like a road car would with the suspension. How the suspension is moving. Most road cars don't have sports suspension or anything like that, so if you're driving really fast over a curb or over a bump, you'll really experience that. But if you were in a rally car, it wouldn't be anything like that. All right. So this car is behaving a lot more realistically. You know, going up curbs. You know, if you was in a real car, you went up curbs as fast as I am in this vehicle, it would be pretty terrible experience. Yeah, you would be going everywhere. So right now the suspension is pretty realistic, I would say. I class these as quality of life changes. You know, this to me makes me feel like I'm actually in a normal road car. It's got lots of speed. I feel like this car does have 280 horsepower. You know, it feels powerful. It feels like it's accelerating and drifting through. It feels like it's on pretty bad tires. You know, it's got all of the qualities that I would expect. So let's do one more thing. Let's make the car lower to the ground, which we can change the lower limit to achieve this. So the lower limit right now is 0.2. The higher the value, the lower the car. So 0.2 is a negative, so 0.19 is actually a high number. And the higher you go, the lower the car will go. So we're going to make the lower limit this. Saved, 0%, change to 0.9. You'll get the hang of lowering cars. Usually I can get it first time. So that's pretty low. It's got a nice aesthetic look to it. Now, when you make the car lower, the center of mass actually does change, so just be aware of that. So lowering your car does change the center of mass, essentially. Now the car doesn't have enough power to make a large corner like that, and that's kind of expected. I'm not expecting the car, obviously, to be able to make that entire turn. And as you can see, it reaches a max speed of 242 miles per hour, even though the max speed of the car is set to 320. The reason why is because it doesn't have enough acceleration. If I gave the car more power, it may be able to reach a higher speed. You can also change the drag. The drag coefficient changes how much air resistance the car experiences. Right now we're at number 2. If I made the drag lower, like I'm going to do right now, I'm going to make it 0.5. That will really just basically remove any air resistance the car experiences to a really significant degree, allowing the car to accelerate to the max speed, probably without any problems. What this will not change is how fast the car is overall. But you will be able to drift for longer because the drag is not slowing the car down, causing your drift to come to a grinding halt. And if you observe the speed limit of the car, right now we're about to actually reach the max speed, which is very cool. So now the car is traveling really quickly. But of course, this isn't very realistic. Oh my gosh. I wouldn't class that as realistic, especially from a car with 280 horsepower. The car at 280 horsepower, I can definitely expect it to reach around 250 miles per hour or more, but I would not expect it to go much faster than that. Or around 250 kilometers per hour would be. Sorry, I'm maybe using the wrong word. 250 kilometers per hour. This car goes a little bit slower than 250 kilometers per hour. That's fine by me. I don't really care. I'm looking for perfect accuracy. I can do this. Ooh, close. Didn't make it. Well, given the nature of this line, it would work really well in an area where. Let's actually go to big gear. I think it would work pretty well here. Let's see how she drives. I was going to go to a map, but big gear. And of course, it's all about personal preference. You can mess around with different numbers and see what you get. And yeah, after I do a little run here, I'll show you guys how to adjust the braking. So in fact, let's do the braking right here. I don't want to waste too much of your time. So right now, when I press the brakes, you're going to see something. All the tires look up. This is one of the things that is not fun about GTA. Your tires always look up under braking pressure. That's because the brakes are way too powerful. You simply make half the brakes to about 5. And I say 5 is usually the universal value to use. You're going to find that upon braking, the car will not always look up. It really depends. Some cars are quite finicky when it comes to changing the brakes. So let's drift around this corner. We'll do a brake test just up here. Down here. As you can see, the car's tires don't actually look up under braking, which is amazing because now I can actually drive the car. Oh, crash. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And this is the corner I was interested in trying. This is a really nice corner. Get it first time. Not really. And there was something I also wanted to try. It might need more steer limits because I find it to be oversteering now that the center of mass is lower. I'm gonna go to Mihan, wherever that is. Mihan Sport. Yeah. I'm going to increase the steering limit to about 37. So I'm going to have more steer angle. I can get more degrees. I'm going to do 37.5 actually. And we can see how she feels. You can find these maps searching for map pack. I think this is the right line, right? Yeah. Going the wrong way though. Let's turn around. I feel like it doesn't have much steer limit. As the lighting is a bit strange. There we go. That's what I want. The car doesn't have a lot of power. It's really good for these kinds of places where low horsepower cars excel, like this. Because it only has 280 horsepower, obviously, so it doesn't really... It's not a very powerful car. Oops, I'm not doing very well at all. Try and get one good run here. See if I can. Nope. I'm just failing miserably. I think this time is a bit better though. Ooh. But yeah, this is a low horsepower drift car, which you may like, you may not like. It really depends on your preferences for how you want your cars to handle. Some people like low horsepower vehicles, so but if you're more interested in a more powerful car, then that's what we're going to do right now. But I think we will do a different car. You know, if you're satisfied with this, then yeah, feel free to just stop watching, go and mess around and try and make some drift lines for your car. But if this was not yet satisfying for you, then I'm going to show you how to make some more powerful cars. But we're going to use a different vehicle for that, I think. So what we're kind of looking for in our high power car is something like this. I want my car to be able to get a lot of angle, like you can see right here. I also want it to be able to do 90s like that. That would be pretty cool. A lot of angle, be able to 90. I want it to be a little bit faster than this. This is a pretty slow line. I want it to be really fast. So we're going to be putting, you know, let's say like sports tires or Superhard tires, or just tires that are a little bit more grippier, so I can really push the limits of the car. So we're going to be going for a pretty interesting line, I suppose. Yeah, let's try and do that. So let's choose a car, obviously. Just click V like this. What is it? There's a command that allows you to choose a car. I think it's car listed. Let's see what we can do. How fun would it be to do the burrito? It will pose challenges that, you know, are would be fun to overcome. So we're going to turn this into an incredible drifting beast, basically. And Maybe I'll try and get a player in my car and show you how incredible this burrito is. Let's go ahead and find it. So this is a default burrito here. We're just going to times the mass by 10 so the car rolls under a lack of acceleration. I'm also going to change the mass Z to 0 for now. I'm going to make the drag 2 like it was for the other. Actually, I'm going to make the drag 1.5. The reason why is I want the car to be able to achieve more speed under acceleration. We're going to just set the grip for now to 0.725 and 6.5. We're going to just give it road tires for now before we start tinkering and trying to do any of that stuff. And let me just see how the car feels. It's going to need a little bit more power. I'm going to put use max speed limit on. You can kind of see what I do to try and fix the car. And we're going to set it to a more normal speed. 250 is fine. Or actually, we'll just do 3. We're going to have this car be going pretty fast, so 320. Every car feels different in this game, so just be aware of that. Go to LVAP, get LVAP. This car has a lot of body roll. Oh my gosh, look at that. So that's something we're going to have to fix instantly. The car has way too much body roll. As you can see, it does drift though. But it loses a lot of speed during the drift, obviously because of the body roll. So we're going to have to fix that pretty quickly. So I'm going to make the inertia 5 for now. Try not to think about these sorts of things. You won't really have to be changing any of this stuff. But it's just my workflow, I suppose. But if you're curious what it does, it will basically make your acceleration curve really sharp. So the lower your inertia, the faster the car accelerates. The higher your inertia, like if it was 50 or 100, then the slower the car accelerates. 100, it will accelerate like a bus, just so you know. Okay, so I'm going to change the springs and the way the springs work. I'm going to get rid of the speed dampers. Speed dampers make the car's suspension softer at higher speeds. The damping right now is 0.7. That's absolutely fine by me. I'm going to make the springs a lot stiffer. I'm going to make the upper limit a lot higher. I'm going to make the lower limit lower. I'm actually going to make the springs 2.5, 2.1. I'm going to make the dampers 8, so it's going to be a little softer than usual. And I'm going to make the suspension bias. If you're wondering what the suspension bias does, I will show you. Suspension bias is not the same as mass Y. So if I make the suspension bias 0.2, it's going to change where the car's suspension will bias toward. This does not necessarily affect the handling of the car very significantly. It doesn't change the way the mass is distributed or anything like that. But it can be useful if you're cambering a car or something like that. I'm also going to make the wheels of the car thicker. I'm going to make them very, very wide. You can actually change how wide wheels are in this game. Isn't that pretty cool? So let's make sure it's saved. Let's make 11. It's 11. Buttons. Okay, hopefully he doesn't spawn buttons again. So now the car, as you can see, the wheels are thicker. You can make them narrower as well. And I'm also going to give the car some steer. I'm going to make it 40 actually, pretty high, 40 degrees of steer limit. Allow the car to get it a more angle. Oops. Do time 12, so you can actually see what's going on. This thing should be pretty beastie now. Yeah, look at that. Handles pretty well. Just full power right now. Amazing. So let's give the car some more grip. I'm gonna put it on sport tires, as it would be. So sport tires in Horizon and in Gran Turismo, if you've ever played those games before, is 0.8. So Castle, Burrito. the car will have a lot more grip. Maybe hard to tell though, but it does. I'll just give you an example. Let's make the grip 1.0 just for fun. Let's see how the grip changes the way the car behaves. If I do it right, just sorry, one second. Now I'm changing the Sultan. See, I thought something was going on. Yeah, okay. Let me try again. Let's make this 1.0. 10. Yeah, you can see it now. Instant acceleration, can turn really well. Yeah, perfect. Okay, let's make that significantly low. I don't want the car to be that fast. Yeah, let's give it some sport tires so we can drift a lot faster around corners. Let's put the Burrito in again. And now we can see that the car doesn't actually have enough power because obviously the grip is high, which makes perfect sense. So it's pretty difficult to get around these corners correctly. Whereas before, when we had less grip, it was far easier to drift. Yeah, it's a little bit difficult to get around these corners. I'm having to make a lot of micro adjustments. But this makes sense because it only has 25 acceleration, which is 250 horsepower. So let's increase that to, I think 400, around 400 is usually a pretty good number. Just to do 410 horsepower. Again, I usually just times it by 10 to get a rough estimate of how much horsepower the car will have in real life. Of course, the weight of the car won't really come into it. Like weight to power ratio, because this is GTS and Andreas, we can't really get those kinds of influences, but yeah. Now the car has plenty of power. Plenty of power. Let's see how she drifts. I'm gonna give it more power because I'm gonna give it more power. I'm gonna bring it all the way up to actually 700 horsepower. Again, it's just an estimate. It's just so I can get a gauge of like how fast the car is. I'm gonna make the grip bias 0.0. Because I don't want it to have too much grip bias right now. Hopefully you remember what grip bias does. You can sort of see that this car has an incredible amount of power right now. And it can apparently steer lock as well, which is pretty cool. Well, anyway. Yeah, it's got a lot of power. It can really... When I put on the gas, it just zooms. Look at that. Wow. So it would be able to make this circle really easily. In fact... Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna give it more steer limit though, because I feel like I'm sometimes running out of steer limit to get the car. Is 72. Yeah, so I felt like the car didn't have enough steer limit. I felt like I was running out of steering limits, so my car would angle too much, and I'm nearly on the verge of spinning out. But I'm just going to show you how the car performs. So you want it to be able to 90. That's going to be really important. So we're going to try and get it to there as well. There's going to be a few adjustments we're going to make this thing just a beast. But let's just see if it can clear this corner first. It can, yes, it can, but you can see it doesn't really get a lot of angle, which we're going to have to sort of fix. But hopefully we can do that. Okay. See how it does in this corner. You can nearly make it. I would like the car to be able to make that corner for sure. So there are some issues we're going to have to do. One, the weight transfer is too much. It's just transferring too much weight, we're losing too much speed. So step one, of course, is to make the car lower. That's going to make an obvious improvement. We just don't want the car to be too low, but that's plenty low enough. The second thing we want to do is something interesting. We want to make the center of mass lower in how the car is coded. So we're going to move 20% of the car's center of mass below it, down. I'm going to move it down. And this is going to work wonders for the car. Now, some Sultan though, it should drift a lot better. We're going to get more sliding action at higher speeds because the center of mass is lower, the car's lower to the ground, so there's going to be less weight transfer. You can sort of see that we're getting more sliding action without weight transfer being an issue. Pardon me. Yeah, so you can kind of take this thing. Wow, look at that. Wow, that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Oh, but I would like to be able to recover from those kinds of drifts. So we're gonna give it 5 degrees more. Sometimes 5 degrees can make all the difference, by the way. Be careful with steer limit sometimes. Only 5 degrees may not seem like a lot, but boy, it can make all the difference. So let's try it on these long corners again. See how she does. So I'm just gonna respawn the car. Sometimes I have a habit of saving and coming back into the game but not reloading. All right, that should be perfect. Let's see how it does. As you can see, this thing accelerates really quickly, so we get right up to speed. Okay, let's see what happens. Can we make this corner now? It's definitely holding the slide way better, but it's just not got enough power to make that entire corner, unfortunately. Which is a shame. But there are things we can do to have it make the corner, because really, if it has, 700 horsepower, you would expect it to be able to make a corner like that. But bear in mind, even though it does have 700 horsepower, even though it's really, powerful, again, just a rough estimate, it's got very grippy tires, It's got very grippy tires, so it does kind of make sense that it's unable to make that corner. Let's flip it. It's already flipped. So there's something we can do, obviously, which you may already know, but I want to show you drag again before I start adjusting other values. So I know this seems really counterintuitive, but if you completely remove all the air resistance the car experiences, suddenly the car will be able to make just about any corner because it's not experiencing any air resistance, so it's not slowing down. This can be really helpful if you're trying to make a car with a lot of power, but you don't want the excess power to affect the joy of the drift. But by doing this, you can basically you will not sacrifice the joy of driving the car for its power. So let's see what we can do here. As you can see, it's making this corner really easily, which is amazing. It's still got a little bit of weight transfer, as you can see. We may want to make the center of mass lower. But let's see if it can make this corner. As you can see, it makes the corner. Amazing, look at that. That's really cool. That was very clean. Yeah, so changing the drag, as you can see, has a massive impact on how the car can get around corners. So that's amazing. Car feels really, really nice and clean. So yeah, I wanted to change the center of mass, but one thing I am actually going to do is I'm going to give it some more turn mass. Turn mass increases when you increase the turn mass. What you actually do is you change how difficult the car is to turn. Yeah, you change how difficult the car is to turn. So a higher turn mass will make the car feel more like a boat or an airplane. This could be nice for making drift cars because it can make your car smoother to drive, which is pretty nice. Oh my gosh. I came into that corner with way too much power. Let's try that again. I mean, this thing really pulls down. Pretty insane. Let's see how it does. Feels so smooth right now. So smooth. Hopefully you saw just, how smooth that was. Yeah, it's amazing. And one thing I really love doing with cars like this is just taking them down a map, like Drift Korea. Okay, let's do weather 19. Oh, they removed all the weathers. Yeah. Leave weather. That's pretty. That's pretty. Yeah, I love taking it down maps like this because you can really sort of get a feel for the sheer power of the car as you're sort of handling these these corners really well. I mean, yeah, we can. We can get some big angle here. Wow, it was amazing. Yep, that's pretty damn smooth. Ah, come on. This happens sometimes. It's really annoying when it does though. Alright, let's keep it gigging. Hopefully it doesn't despawn me again. I'm gonna try to do a 90 because one other thing I wanted to do for this car is I wanted to make it so it could do, yeah, 90 degrees entry. That would be really, really neat. So if it can 90 right now, I won't have to do anything. If it can't 90, I might try and change some settings around to see if we can get it to 90. But let's see how she does. It does lose a little bit too much traction during 90 degrees. It's going to be difficult to make the car 90 without sacrificing the beauty of how the car feels during driving it right now. So I'm probably not going to do it today, but in another tutorial, I'll definitely show y'all how to do that. As you can see, just look at how effectively it's going around these corners. It's super duper smooth. Oh, no, it didn't happen. So yeah, I hope, you learn, especially from the Sultan, me showing you how to do the Sultan, how to make some drift lines. Start with the messing around, making cars similar to the Sultan, adjusting the grip and the transmission, and always make sure you use max speed limit on. And see what you can get with this. And if you're looking to make a car it's a little bit more advanced, then just see if you can increase the power and make some of the quality of life changes I showed you. Making the drag 0 can give you more power without sacrificing how the car feels. Things like that. changing the center of mass. I hope I explained that really well. Yeah. So see what you can do, see what you can figure out. And yeah, hopefully this was informative. Thank you for watching. Yeah, have a wonderful day.